Hi, I'm Cindi McGee, and you're watching Polymer Clay TV. Today's project all started when I got this great surprise package from Sculpey. Inside was a package of the new Premo color, Mauve. And then I went searching online for different patterns to try, and I found several. So these earrings are actually a combination of several different really simple veneers that I created. Let's get started. The first step was to condition and roll the clay to a setting number 5 on my Atlas machine. Now, I didn't have any paint that was exactly the color I wanted. It needed to be sort of a darker mauve than the clay itself. So I mixed some different colors of paint. I had a paler shade of mauve, and I'm adding in some dark red, and then I ended up adding in a little bit of a dark purple and just kept mixing until I got a color that I was happy with. I'm using the Nouveau Roses from Create Along silkscreen to create the pattern on this first sheet of clay. Place it with the colorful side down and just smooth it in place to make sure it's going to stay put. And then go ahead and apply the paint to the screen. You want to carefully lift the screen and then let the paint dry on the clay and wash that silk screen right away. For the next veneer, I'm using the Shrines silk screen from Create Along. I rolled the clay to the same setting. And I'm going to use the center paisley pattern. This time I'm silk screening with some almond paint. I did this twice. For the third veneer, I'm using some black Premo, which again I've conditioned and rolled to a setting 5 on the clay machine. And I'm using my Cindy's Peacocks Borders silkscreen from Create Along. And I'm going to use the border that has sort of some paisleys in it just to keep going with the paisley theme. And I'm going to use some of that mixed mauve paint and some of the almond paint and just add spots of it here and there and then use the scraper. And that way I'll come up with a sort of multicolored result similar to that original fabric that inspired it. Okay, for this next one, I'm going to extrude some clay. I'm using the mauve and I'm using some scraps of pistachio, and I think this is some pearl and some olive, Spanish olive. And I've just created some small cylinders, which I'm going to compress and place into the extruder barrel. And then I'm using a multi-hole disc. I'm using a sheet that I made of that scrap pearl that I had that I rolled again to a 5, and I'm going to begin adding the strands of the extruded clay next to each other on that sheet until the sheet is completely covered. Just sort of twist and move them and manipulate them as you need to make sure that you have all the different colors represented when you're finished. Next, gently roll over the surface with your clay roller. You don't want to completely compress them and lose all of the individual strands effect, but you do want to smooth it and make sure they're going to adhere well. To get the texture, I'm using a little wire brush tool and I'm going to scrape and drag it over the surface. You could use a needle tool or anything similar. Even a comb would probably work to get a similar effect. Now, I decided to use part of my first veneer as the back of my piece, but you can roll another piece if you'd prefer. So I'm going to flip that over, and then I cut strips in different widths of each of the other veneers, and then started to arrange them next to each other on that backing in a pattern that I liked. Alright, once I got them how I liked them, I did use my roller and just roll over it gently to make sure they're going to stay in place. Next, I placed a piece of plastic over the veneer, and I'm using my small oval cutters from Create Along, my daisy petal cutters from Create Along, and my ruffled kiss cutters from Create Along to cut several pieces to be used for earrings. And I also cut some dots to be used as part of the earrings. I did cut some different elements from the remaining veneers too to mix and match to make the final sets of earrings. Everything goes into the oven to bake at the manufacturer's recommended temperature, and then I let them cool. Once they were cool, I applied DecoArt DuraClear satin finish to every area except the textured sections, and I used bright silver findings. For more inspiration, join our Polymer Clay Tribe Facebook page. Over 18,000 members sharing projects every day. For lots more creative polymer clay ideas, visit the Polymer Clay TV blog.